I invested $30,000 in it. Mama, we tied the knot and officially became a family, so everything seemed fine. However, I never anticipated that John would turn out to be such a mama's boy. I had heard whispers at work suggesting that Mr. Cooper had a complex relationship with his mother, but I didn't pay much heed during our dating phase. After we registered our marriage, though, I started feeling increasingly uneasy. I initially wanted to believe it was just my imagination and kept quiet until now. However, it's becoming too much to ignore. What is John thinking? I never thought he would casually spend such a significant amount of money, even if it's for his mother. Perhaps he views it as wedding expenses, but didn't he listen to me when I recently discussed it with him? His seemingly frivolous plans with his mother might go unnoticed by them, but they are glaringly obvious to me. I am determined to make them regret attempting to trap me. I am Kristen Cooper, 30 years old, a dedicated and earnest worker. Recently, I registered my marriage with my husband, John Cooper, after an office romance. John, who is 32 and 2 years older than me, was known for being bright and kind, popular among colleagues. Despite his popularity, he surprised me by expressing his feelings, and our relationship blossomed. On our 1-year anniversary, he proposed, and we decided to register our marriage first, planning a grand wedding later as per John's wish. Currently, we're diligently working and saving money for our dream wedding. Living in a house and land inherited from my deceased parents, we hope to save faster without having to pay rent. A month after registering our marriage, our life was blissful until one weekend when John's mother called urgently, leaving him pale and hurriedly preparing to leave. Concerned, I asked, "Did something happen to your mother?" He replied in a panic, "Mama, something urgent seems to have happened to Mom." Feeling concerned, I decided to accompany John as he rushed out to attend to an emergency with his mother. It was the first time I had seen him so flustered. Considering the urgency, my worries grew, imagining possible accidents his mother might have had. I refrained from calling him while he was driving and opted to send a message, expressing my concern and asking him to keep me informed about his mother's condition. In the hours that followed, I received a reply from John, explaining that he had just returned from the hospital, revealing that his mother had tripped at the entrance, resulting in a minor sprain. Relieved by the news, I inquired when he would be returning home. To my surprise, John responded that he planned to stay at his mother's place to watch over her for the night. He had already informed work and taken leave the next day. The notion of him taking a leave for a minor sprain crossed my mind. But then I remembered that John had no father, and his mother was his sole family. It seemed natural for him to be deeply concerned. I replied, expressing my understanding and wishing his mom a speedy recovery. Deciding to rest for the day, I went to the office the next morning. However, in the break room, I unintentionally overheard a conversation about John's reputation, with comments like, "He still calls his mother Mama," and someone claiming to have seen John walking arm in arm with a woman who appeared to be his mother. While I found it heartwarming that a mother and son shared a close relationship, it became apparent that the general public might view it differently. Amidst all this, perhaps triggered by his mother's sprain, John approached me with a surprising proposal. "Kristen, I was thinking of inviting my mom to stay with us for a while to take care of her. What do you think?" His suggestion caught me off guard. While I knew he harbored a desire to live with his mother eventually, we had agreed to discuss such matters thoroughly after our wedding. The suddenness of his proposal left me perplexed. Why bring it up all of a sudden? I asked John, puzzled by his unexpected proposal. He explained, "Well, Mom's currently sprained, and I'm worried. It's dangerous for her to be alone, right? So I was thinking of renovating our house to make it safer and have her stay here in the meantime." His explanation shed light on his sudden decision, but I couldn't shake off my unease. John had made this significant decision without consulting me. Reluctantly, considering the urgency of the situation, I agreed. The next day, John's mother arrived at our house with large luggage. John had an unavoidable morning meeting and was expected back in the afternoon, so I, having taken the day off, greeted his mother. "Ah, Kristen, I'll be in your care for a while." "Can you bring in all these luggage, please?" she asked, instructing the delivery personnel to leave everything at the entrance. After handling the luggage alone, I took a break while she casually turned on the TV. Later, as John returned home, his mother approached him with a grievance. "Kristen didn't even help me with the luggage. She left it all to me and just leisurely watched TV. What do you think about that?" She blatantly lied with a calm face. Shocked, I looked at her, only to find her smirking. Before I could respond, John asked, "Wait a minute, Kristen. Is that true?" Feeling betrayed by his blind trust in his mother, I apologized just to defuse the situation. My mother-in-law, triumphant, resumed her position on the sofa. John's unwavering belief in his mother made me question our relationship. As 2 weeks passed, she continued to make my life difficult in John's absence, while he remained overly affectionate towards her, even calling her mama. What surprised me more was her extravagant spending habits, flaunting expensive meals and branded items. When I confronted John at the office about his mother's departure, he evaded the question, deepening my concern. I had to address the issue at work because John and his mother were always so closely intertwined at home, leaving us with minimal time for meaningful conversations as a couple. Even when I attempted to discuss his mother's extravagant spending habits, John remained unresponsive, leaving me to fret in isolation. As my concerns mounted, I began questioning the source of the money. My mother-in-law didn't work, and given her spending patterns, she wasn't likely to be the saving type. Suspecting the worst, I decided to inspect our bank books. To my dismay, I discovered that the $30,000 we had saved for our wedding had been withdrawn from the account. Stunned, I immediately called John to confront him. "Hello, John. Do you know anything about the $30,000 we saved for the wedding? I checked the bank book, and it's all gone." His response was nonchalant. "30,000. I used it for Mom. We're married and a family now, so that should be fine, right?" Though I comprehended that his mother had used the money, I chose to keep quiet about it. Upon returning home, my mother-in-law, who had been out, noticed me holding the bank book. She approached and whispered, "Thank you, Kristen. I'm counting on you in the future, too." Her words fueled my frustration, and I decided it was time to take revenge on both of them. I purchased a voice recorder and installed hidden cameras throughout the house while maintaining a facade of normalcy in their presence. Their arrogance and disparaging remarks towards me intensified, but I collected evidence in silence. It became evident that, instead of renovating her own house, my mother-in-law intended to sell it and permanently move into our house, a plan apparently concocted with John from the beginning. Our wedding was just weeks away, and I endured, silently collecting evidence. When I sought the expertise of a divorce lawyer and returned home with him, both John and his mother were visibly shocked. Ignoring their surprise, the lawyer explained the divorce proceedings calmly. Unexpectedly, John interrupted, saying, "Hey, wait a minute. Divorce? Stop joking. We have our wedding in a month. That's impossible." He spoke with an intimidating and somewhat angry tone. In response, I handed him a copy of the recordings from the voice recorder. As John listened with caution, he started denying everything after finishing the playback. I couldn't believe John's reaction. "I don't remember saying such things, and is that really me?" I felt utterly frustrated, but somehow managed to remain calm as I questioned him. "You never listen to me, no matter how many times I try to talk to you. You love and care about your mother more than me, right? There's no point in being married to me, is there?" John attempted to retort, but I didn't let him interrupt. "Mama gave birth to me and raised me. Of course, she's more important than you, but you've stopped calling her Mom. It's great to care about a parent, but don't you think you're going too far?" The lawyer took charge of the conversation, sensing John's reluctance to acknowledge my concerns. Yet John seemed unconvinced. Suddenly, as if just remembering, he asked about the wedding. I suggested canceling the wedding and proposed that he should pay the cancellation fee. To my surprise, His mother burst into anger and started complaining loudly. I couldn't understand why she, who had been splurging on her favorite things and living as she pleased, was so upset. "You're still upset about the $30,000 from before, aren't you? Mama's part of the family, so there's no need to be so mad. We can just save it up again together." But that money wasn't mine. I had explained this shortly after his mother moved in. Not even 2 weeks in, I had clarified that the account was initially set up for both of us to save for our wedding expenses. However, John stopped contributing after a while, and I couldn't find the right moment to discuss it with him. At work, I overheard John and his mother whispering together. The account we opened to save for the wedding had about $50,000, of which around $30,000 was my savings. John had told his mother it was okay to use the $30,000 since I managed our finances. In response, I took action. John had been saving around $30,000 in his own account for a dream car. I transferred that money to my account and gave John the money from the joint account, making it his share. The total remained the same, but it was a loss for me. I explained this to John, revealing that the $30,000 he gave to his mother was actually his savings for the car. John rushed out to check his bank book and returned with tears in his eyes. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law was bewildered, not understanding what was happening. "What's going on? Why did this happen? My savings? I've dreamed of buying that car since." I was at a loss. Why did this happen? Why did you do this to yourself? I couldn't bear to see John collapse in tears, unable to continue the conversation. So I made it clear, if he didn't agree to the divorce by the end of the week, I would proceed with legal action. With my pre-packed luggage, I left the house and checked into a hotel near my office. The next day at work, I informed my boss about the divorce and my impending attendance at the wedding. When he inquired further, I took him to another room and revealed the recordings from the recorder and the footage from the hidden camera. My boss gasped and assured his cooperation. "Are you taking some paid leave? Let me know if you need it," he offered helpfully. As we exited the room, gossip-loving seniors were waiting outside. My boss scolded them, but this was part of my plan. When I played the recording at a high volume, pretending to be shocked myself, the gossip spread like wildfire. By the next day, the entire company knew. Colleagues sympathized with me and looked down on John. When John confronted me at my desk, accusing me of spreading rumors, the seniors who had eavesdropped came to my defense. Later, my boss called John in and gave him a choice between a pay cut and a transfer. He chose the transfer, and next month, I wouldn't have to see John anymore, which was a relief. Despite his stubborn refusal to agree to the divorce and his boasts about hiring a lawyer, no lawyer took his case, and he lost in court. The divorce was finalized, and John had to pay the wedding cancellation fees. I'd also received compensation. John was visibly upset, but it was all his doing. About a week after the trial, I received nonstop calls from John and his mother. Deciding it was best not to answer his mother's calls, I finally picked up John's call. "What's this all about?" he demanded. "Some guys came and told us to leave. Do something about it. It's John's house. How can we be told to leave?" "What are you planning, Kristen?" "Mama, just go over there for now." "I'll handle this." I could hear John's voice over the phone. From the mother-in-law's comments, it seemed John had told her the house was his. I instructed John to put the phone on speaker mode and decided to explain the truth to his mother. "Mother, you seem to be misunderstanding something. That house and land are mine, inherited from my parents. It's not John's, and I've decided to sell this house filled with memories of my parents. Both of you need to leave quickly, please." Hearing my words, my mother-in-law burst out. "What do you mean? That can't be right." I could hear John trying to calm her down over the phone, but it was futile, so I quietly hung up. After that call, I had a few peaceful days. Although staying at the hotel was comfortable, I decided it was time to move properly and began looking into buying a condo. As I visited various real estate properties, I encountered the last person I wanted to meet. Since I had told them to leave, they must have been looking for a new place to move to. By chance, I ran into John and his mother. After whispering to each other for a bit, they'd approached me. "Hey, Kristen, long time no see. Meeting here doesn't seem like a coincidence. We must really be fated for each other," they said. "That's right, Kristen. Why don't you marry John again? I would be so happy if you did." I was surprised to see John there, considering he was supposed to have been transferred by his company. It turned out that the transfer was just to the next town, and he chose to commute by train because his mother didn't want to leave the area. She believed it was a neighborhood where celebrities gathered, convinced that living there would make her part of the elite. Indeed, this area has many high-security condos, and the rent is on the higher side, I said. Understanding this, John moved even closer. "So what do you think? We could make it work if we tried again, right?" John suggested. "I'm in debt now because of the compensation and cancellation fees, and Mama seems to have borrowed money from various places too. So how about it?" he continued. "Yes, Kristen, you have money from selling the house and land, so let's all share the money and happiness together. We're family, right?" Excitedly, they started looking for condos to live in together. I suggested a luxurious condo, and they seemed to think I was going to pay for everything and didn't care about the price. After the viewing, I told them, "Well, this is where I leave you," and parted ways with them. They seemed quite elated, waving their hands with smiles. About a month later, John called me repeatedly, just like that day. "Hello, when are you coming? We were supposed to move in today, right?" he asked eagerly. "I'm tied up with work right now, so it'll be a while." I responded calmly to John's call. "I see, got it. Let me know when you're coming. I'll help with the move. Make sure it's within a month, okay? Rent payments are starting," he reminded me. Dodging his words and changing the subject, I skillfully steered the conversation and ended the call. I continued packing for my move, excited about my new life. 2 weeks passed, and I arrived at my new condo. That's when John called again. "Hey, Kristen, when are you coming here? Rent payment is almost due. Hurry it up," he urged. I walked around the house, opening every door, making noise over the phone. I could hear John and his mother talking and couldn't help but smile. "I'm already at my condo," I announced. "What are you talking about? I never said I was going to live with you. You both did the viewing and signed the contract on your own. I found a condo I liked and bought it. You should find someone more suitable for you. I don't think we'll ever meet again. Take care. Bye," I said cheerfully and immediately hung up. Then I blocked both John and his mother's numbers, feeling a sense of accomplishment. I was in high spirits, looking forward to setting up my new home and having lots of busy but fun times ahead. At work, my hard work was recognized, and I was promoted. Things would get busier, but it was a fresh start, and I was ready to give my all. As for John and his mother, one day they suddenly visited my company and caused a scene. They were immediately subdued by the security guards, and the police were called. John apparently embezzled funds from the company he was transferred to, involved in marriage fraud, theft, and other crimes. He is now in prison and likely won't be released for a while. His mother had to find a job and live on her own, but she struggled due to her self-centered nature and poor relationships. Falling into debt, she's now on the run, unable to pay back what she owes. Reflecting on their situation, I learned a valuable lesson about how one's bad actions always come back to haunt them. I'm grateful for the opportunity to use them as negative examples and reevaluate my own actions. The man I'm living with now in the condo contributes equally to the living expenses, supports me, and doesn't interfere with my work. We enjoy our time together, and his parents seem to like me. We plan to continue being careful with our actions and treating people kindly.